All right. Back at it. This one. Let's see where we at. All right. Back at it. All right. Good evening, kings and queens. Well, actually, good night, kings and queens. Good night. Good night. So look, this is QueenWytisha coming to you all with a new channel. This is going to be a stage and a channel for my women, my queens all across this nation. So look, before I get started with anything, I'm asking for support. Share the broadcast, Yes, it's late at night. I'm doing my first trial and error, my test run. It was on my heart, on my mind, my spirit. I couldn't get it off. So look, this is a platform that's going to advocate for women all across the nation. This is a platform for my queens that experience racial disparities, that experience injustices, all of the challenges that we endure as women from all backgrounds, all cultures, all races. This is the platform where we're going to talk about these issues. We're going to interview on these issues. We're going to empower one another, encourage one another, and we're just going to support one another on this platform. So I need you all to share this platform. Bring your friends on here. Introduce your other queens onto this platform, because this is the platform that's going to empower the queens. We are trying to give women a voice. And so, as you can see, the title says Women Monsters, Toxic Femininity. There's an irony in that, and I'm going to explain why I entitled it Women Monsters, Toxic Femininity. I labeled it that because so many men have platforms and they're talking about this this toxic masculinity. And I hear so many different men that's advocating for the women, talking about the women, talking down on the women. Well, I haven't seen too many platforms that's pretty much going to advocate the women and tell our side. So now it is time for us to tell our side. So we're going to do a short broadcast tonight, and I'm hoping that this is going to be our place for a voice. This is going to give the queens their voice. At the bottom, the subtitle you can see, it says "Nevermind my voice." That's the irony. The irony is we are not heard enough. We're not seen enough. We're just not heard enough, and it is time for our voices to be heard. So look, I want to start this off first by reading a poem that I wrote, and then we're going to discuss a few topics tonight. And so for all of my people that's chiming in right now, and for the ones that catch the broadcast later, I actually would like for you all, if you have a story that needs to be told, that's going on unheard and has not been told, if you feel like you've been experiencing some inequalities on your job, in your relationship, in your marriage, your childhood, it is time for us to get on this platform and to give women a voice. It's too many people that's advocating for us that do not know what it means to be a woman. Now, my position is always going to be, I am going to advocate for all women, because this is a platform for all women, but I'm most definitely going to advocate for a woman that is Afrocentric, right? A woman of color, and I'm most definitely going to talk about my struggles. I'm going to talk about the things that I have experienced. But I feel like it's unfair that so many men have platforms and they can talk about women and they can give their judgments and their opinion about women, but they don't know anything about what it means or what it feels like or what it stands, what it means to be a woman. You have people making laws for us that don't even know who we are. They don't. the physical anatomy, the mindset is completely different. But you have so many people that don't look like us that have a voice for us. And it is time that we as women have our own voice, and we speak about the inequalities. We speak about the unfair treatment. We speak about the things that are unfair that's going on. And this is also a platform. Don't get it misconstrued. We're going to talk about the truth. But this is not a platform for anybody to bash anybody. Now, sometimes the truth can be hurtful. The truth can be a little painful. It can be a little rough, and it can be a little abrasive at times. This is not the platform to bash anybody. But are we going to talk about truth? Yeah, we're going to talk about truth. So for any of my women that's chiming in right now, or any of my women that wants to come on here and tell their story, look, I'm taking names. Inbox me. We're going to do some interviews. We're going to give women the voice that they deserve, the voices that should be heard. It is time that we speak up for ourselves. Too many people that don't look like us, that don't feel like us, that want to be us, or that feel that they know everything about a woman, is advocating for us and speaking on our behalf. And it's time out for that. So this is the platform where we're going to talk about the quote unquote women monsters, the toxic femininity that's taking place. Because so many men are talking about the toxic masculinity. Let's talk about the toxic femininity, the roles that we are forced to walk in that's unfair to us. And I'm going to come back and give some examples of what does toxic femininity actually mean? What does that mean? Because before you even support the page, I need you to understand, what does all of this mean? Never mind my voice. Our voices are not being heard. They're not being heard, but it's time. So look, let me read my poem. I have a few subjects, not too many because it's late and I have to get up for worship in the morning. But we're going to talk about these topics because it's been on my heart. It's been on my spirit. I couldn't go to sleep. So we're going to get this party started with this, with giving a voice to the women, because it's no longer going to be never mind my voice. Our voices are going to be heard. So let's get started with this poem. Society. What do you mean, never mind me? I'm going to take my paper off the stand. What do you mean, never mind me? There would be no you if it wasn't for me. Dress like this. Talk like that. Act according to what a man say is facts. But how do you know what's facts? You had to come through me, out of me, and then return to me. But no one talks about that. James Brown said it once. It's a man's world. But you will be nothing. And he repeated, nothing without a woman or a girl. So now in modern days, we're still giving a bunch of slack. Most of the power that you carry came from laying on a woman's back. Whether it's through birth, work, business, or church. You call the shots, but yet all of the seeds come from Mother Earth. Our voices are still not heard. Equal rights, that's not what real women want. We just want to be heard. Heard when we hurt. Heard when we're in pain. Heard when there's injustice. And heard when we feel ashamed. Heard when you're not listening and you're fake pretending to pay attention. Heard when you want to break. When we want to break. Heard when our feet hurt too. And we want to be heard when the world dumps a bunch of shit on us too. Heard when we're faced with harassment, and heard when we're labeled a second classman. Society, what about me? You're saying things are progressing, but your actions are still displaying, never mind me. When you go off to war, we carry the load. It shouldn't be just you receiving an award. What about me? I'm carrying the load too. When you go out to jail, I'm put in hell too. When you decide to leave for good, I'm forced to do what any real woman would. You say, never mind me, but does that make sense to you? Without me, could it ever be a you? Society makes you believe that. But this is where we are about to get to the facts. So this is QueenWytisha, Platform Women Monsters Toxic Femininity. So let's go into talking about what is toxic femininity. We need to get an understanding of what that is. What does that mean? What does that look like? Because see, so many people can interpret it to be meaning something negative, but it's not. It has nothing to do with negativity at all. From our point of view, from our perspective, toxic femininity is the things that we go through as women, but society see it to be something different. And when we don't fit that mold, or when we don't fit the shoe, or when we don't fit what society say that we should fit, that's where that toxic femininity comes from. Let me give you some examples. It says toxic femininity is a term to describe characteristics that are often associated with stereotypical femininity and are a product of patriarchal gender norms, meaning males are continuously telling women what they should do, how they should do things, how you should look, how you should appear, right? So it says examples of toxic femininity is internalized misogyny. Misogyny is when basically what we're talking about, it being a man's world, everything coming from a male's lens, right? So women are encouraged to ignore their own needs to prioritize others. How many women right now that's looking at this broadcast, or that may catch this broadcast later, have made sacrifices over and over again for family, friends, husbands, partners, on your job? How many have, like I said, ignored your own needs, pain, sicknesses, still pushing out to help and be this ideal woman that society deems that we are supposed to be in order to appease other people's needs? That's toxic femininity. When you have ignored your needs, but you have prioritized other people's needs before yours. That's toxic femininity. I know a lot of women can relate to what I'm talking about. The second one says rigid gender expectations. When women are held to limited expectations and discouraged from being ambitious. Let's give some examples of that. Prime example, you have several women that, and we talked about this last week, women that still feel like women are not supposed to preach or teach, or you can only have a certain role in the ministry because you are a woman. So people don't talk about, they don't go to the scriptures in the word where we talk about Phoebe being a deacon, where Priscilla and her husband were apostles. You know, they don't talk about that. So when we talk about misogyny, when you talk about patriarch, it's talking about the way that society has set things up to be for a man. So right here it says toxic femininity. You're a woman. So if you're a woman, you're only supposed to be limited on how high the level of achievement that you can accomplish, the goals that you can accomplish. Oh, you can't do that because you're a woman. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. I know it's several of you all that have been told, oh, she doing too much. You're doing too much. You're a woman. You can't be doing this much, doing that much. But if it was coming from the opposite sex, then it would be okay. Now, don't get me misconstrued. We are not coming on this platform to bash men. That's not what it's about. We are coming on this platform to give women a voice. That's it. We are coming on this platform so that we can be heard. Because even though society is saying that things are progressing, and there are so many organizations that fight for women's rights, there are still so many disparities, inequalities that are taking places still today on this job. And as a woman of color, I'm going to give several examples of the inequalities and the disparities that I experience when it comes to people that are non-Afrocentric, and for people that are not female. I experienced these, have experiences. So these are going to be real life personal experiences. And again, I'm calling out women from all across the nation that wants to have a voice. This is a platform. Inbox me. Let's talk about your story on this platform. Let's set up a date. Let's set up a time where we can discuss your issues that you're experiencing. If you've been sitting at home and you sit back and you're like, man, I'm tired of experiencing this. It's like nobody's hearing me. Well, this is a platform where we're going to be heard. It's the queen's time to be heard. It's a lot of platforms that's promoting negativity. They're promoting fighting and drama. This platform is for the mature. This platform is for the women that want to be heard in a mature, professional way. We're not coming on here to keep up drama. You know what I'm saying? But we want to give women, hardworking women, loving wives, housewives. That's another thing that needs to be talked about, because some people feel that because you're a woman and you don't work, you sit at home, you take care of the kids, that's not a job. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of children day in and day out, that's a job. So all of that stuff needs to be acknowledged. That's another thing. That falls up under the label of toxic femininity. The next label, passive and docile. So it talks about when women are encouraged to be passive, when women are encouraged to be docile and cooperative. They're encouraged to be docile and passive. I have plenty to talk about when it comes to that. The next example they gave, code of conformity. Women are expected to conform to rigid and feminine genders. We're expected. We're supposed to wear skirts. We're supposed to wear heels. We're supposed to wear our hair a certain way. When we come out, we're always supposed to look a certain way. Now, am I saying I promote these bonnets? No, because I was raised that anytime you step out of your house, you're supposed to respect yourself, and you are a representation of your family. If you're a married woman, you're a representation of your husband. If you have children, you're a representation, and you are an extension, and your children are an extension of you. So these bonnets, that's going to be another topic on another day. We're going to talk about these bonnets. But what I'm talking about is some days you may not be able to dress up in a skirt, or you may not feel like wearing heels, or you may not feel like wearing a bunch of jewelry. But when we talk about toxic femininity, it's talking about the roles that we are assumed to present, that we are expected to walk in, expected to assume, because we are women. That's toxic femininity. I'm just supposed to smell fresh after working all day in the sun, just like a man, but because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to smell a certain way. I'm supposed to smell fresh all day, right? That's toxic femininity. Males, men, misogynistic, chauvinistic men that feels like it is a man's world, like what James Brown said, it is a man's world because they call the shots. At the end of the day, you may put women in a place to where they can have a voice, but we're living in a man's world. That's the one thing that James Brown that he said that was true. We're living in a man's world, but what people are failing to realize, like he said, and he said it twice in his song, that a man will be nothing without a woman and a girl. And the cliche, the saying is, the quote is, behind every strong man, every good man, every powerful man, there is a strong, powerful, and good woman. Believe that, because most of the ideals come from the woman. I'm sounding like a feminist. But no, let me clear this up. This is not a platform to where we're not going to bash men. That's not what we're going to do. I'm not speaking up because I hate men. I'm married to a man. That's not the point. The point of this platform is because I have experienced so many inequalities, so many unfair things because of being a woman. And I sit back and I talk to my husband about this stuff all the time. And it's really funny. It's ironic that we go through these things on a regular basis, and it's like no matter what, as women, we are still expected to look a certain way, perform a certain way, no matter what, because society role says that this is what a woman's supposed to do. This is the way she's supposed to look. This is the way she's supposed to talk. This is the way she's supposed to act. And that's the part that get me. That's what get me, because I tell people this all the time. My life was very, very traumatic and challenging and dysfunctional. The roles that I was taught as a young girl were opposite of feminine. So I said I was going to save this for later, but I'm giving you a point. When you grow up being taught to take care of business, when you have no male figure in the home, because see, this is what a lot of these platforms are bashing women. They're talking about women not understanding the roles, the roles of things that have impacted us, and especially strong women. It's like certain men have a very difficult time understanding why strong women have become to be who they are and how they become who they are. But the problem is with the toxic femininity is, honestly, now when it comes to a man, they want to know, okay, his struggles, how he become this man, why is he acting or behaving this way. But when it comes to women, you very rarely hear the story of, okay, you got a CEO that owns her own business and she's making billions of dollars. Very strong woman, very assertive. She can communicate and hold her own. She's acting like a man. She's acting like a man. But why would you say that she's acting like a man? Why can't it be that the role that she is presenting is what she was taught? It's the same thing as men that display feminine qualities and feminine traits. Well, yeah, some people say, well, he's acting like a woman. But you have to go, see, this is a thing, and this is what happened when we was doing onions at one point. Because when you talk about the onions, you get to the layers. See, it's so many people that's shallow, that's fictitious, and they're on the surface. But see, you have to understand, even when we talk about the word, if we're going to throw a little spirituality in it, because we're always going to keep God in, because God is first. But the word says that accursed causes cannot come. Meaning, things that happen in our life, there are always root causes to it. There are always layers to it. And sometimes you got to go to the bottom to come out to the top. Right? And so when we're talking about women, I'm trying to keep the focus on women. When you talk about a woman acting like a man, let's go back to her childhood. How many women, was of an influence? And I'll talk about my child. Well, I'm not going to go into my childhood, but I'll just give, some brief information, and we're going to talk about these topics that I brought up. And we're going to give some shout outs to the male feminists that supports women, that advocates on women's behalf in a positive perspective, a positive aspect. I want to most definitely shout those men out or what have you. But this is the thing, like, okay, growing up, I had two sides to my family. You had women on my mom's side. Most of them were women of faith. They believed in God. They was in church a lot, been married for long periods of times. They stayed in relationships, marriages where the men cheated, they lied, they was abusive. I saw a bunch of dysfunctional stuff with women, but I saw how because they were women, they were made to. You're a woman. You're supposed to go to church all the time. You even if your man cheating, you're supposed to pray for him. Even if he coming home 3:00 in the morning, when he come in, you supposed to embrace him with love. I saw women on my mother's side deal with that type of stuff. You know, I don't want to put too much out about my family because my family get offended when I start talking about them and exposing certain stuff, which is going to come. Some stuff is going to come out because that's a part of my life and my journey, so I can talk about it. But I saw this. I saw women being faithful to no good men that had women. You know, I remember at times, there was times that I would, one of my stepfathers that I say my mom was with for the longest, every time it turned around, he was getting caught with another woman, you know? So that's where I grew this demeanor. And I'm like, on the other side, my biological father's side of the family, I grew up seeing the guys hustle, make money, very strong men, go-getters. Anything that they put their hands in, they was able to make a come up. I watched the men on my father's side of the family make $1 out of 10 cents, $1 out of a penny. And I don't know, like as a child, as a young girl, why I gravitated more towards the strength, the masculinity of the male, but I did. And so so I want to say this too. You know, a lot of people talk about the masculine energy that certain women give off, but then you also have to understand that as women, the positions that we've been put in, we have to exude masculine energy because there was no masculine individual in our life that was consistent, that was steady, that was protected. So let me give you an example of how this toxic femininity comes about. You grow up not having a male figure in your life to protect you, to teach you, to be there for you. And so when you have to be a protector of yourself, when society has deemed that a man is supposed to be there for you, if you don't have that, then who protects? Let's think about that. Now, I can't even see, I don't know how to really work this app like talking about it. I'm still learning. I want to see comments. Because I do see a few people in. Let me see. Let me figure out how to get these dang on comments up here. Say private chat. Lord. I don't know. I'm gonna have to keep working on this app. This is my first night. So look, I'm trying to figure out how it works. But overlay. No, I'm trying to see. Because I want new comments will display. Okay, so I guess I don't have any comments. But okay. So anyways, let's go back to it. When society is saying, okay, there's supposed to be a man in your life to protect you, right? There's supposed to be a man there to support you, to guide you, right? But you don't have that in your life. And see, this is what so many people in society is missing. This is what so many men in society is missing. When you meet a strong man, and I've met a lot of men. I've met some men that understands the root cause to strong women. I understand, like I've met some guys that get that. Because what tends to happen is when you have men that continuously complain about a woman being so strong or exuding masculinity, is because they're honestly not comfortable with their masculinity. And sometimes the woman masculinity may overpower or overshadow that man's masculinity. And it's not the woman's fault. But for some reason, that's why I call it women monsters. We get deemed the monsters because we've had to be strong all our lives. We've had to protect ourselves all our lives. And so when we meet a man, we get deemed the monster, the woman monster, because we've had to be that all of our lives. So how do you turn that off? How do you turn that off? Prime example with me. Like I say, I gravitated as a young girl towards the men. My grandfather, right? My one grandfather that I've had that was consistent in out of our lives. He's deceased now. He just died. He died early on in 2024. My grandfather, he was the only male that a lot of us knew. The cousins, he raised his household, another household. He raised our household. He contributed. He contributed to cousins. All of the families, he was the one consistent male, right? But the one thing that I remember him doing, he always worked. He always provided. Now, as far as the role that my grandmother had to play, my grandmother didn't have to work, but she did work. She worked very, very little, but for the most part, my grandfather took care of the household because that was that era, and that era just it just continued to trickle on into the 21st century, right? But my grandfather was the only consistent male that I had in my life. So when I would watch him, I watched him drive trucks. I watched him mow lawn. Anything that he could put his hands to, he would put his hands to, and he would make money out of it. So me as a young girl, I didn't gravitate towards wanting to be in the house. I didn't gravitate towards wanting to be in the house, being taken care of, living a housewife life, cooking and cleaning. Well, I love to clean, but I'm gonna be honest with you. My passion, I don't have a passion to cook. And thank God that I married a husband that loves to cook. Now, we sometimes share those duties, but that's not my thing. And that's another role falls up under that toxic femininity. Because you are a woman, you're supposed to be the cook. Why is that? Why is that? If I work just as much as you work, if I do is just as much as you do, why does the role of the cook still fall on the woman? Now we are living in 2025 to where gender roles have switched tremendously, and I do get that. But there are still majority people that feel like a woman should cook. She should be able to do this and do that, and these are the roles of the woman, and that's what we're talking about. Because, like I say, me as a young girl, I gravitated towards the men. I like the fact that my grandfather always had money. I like the fact that when I would see my cousins and my uncles, the cars that they rode in, the things that they did, I'm like, I don't ever want to be a woman to where I have to depend on a man to take care of me. I gotta wait on a man to do things for me. You know, I'd rather have that strength to where if somebody say that they can't do it, I'm gonna go out and get it. I'm gonna go out and do it. So did I develop and adopt that? I did. Because that was something that I gravitated towards, and that was a part of my life. You know, I had women, again, like I say, that was a small influence, but for the most part, men was the influence in my life. So you have certain women that had to be the big brother / big sister, right? Had to, when the mama wasn't home, had to watch over the household, watch over the younger siblings. That was me. You know, when my mama was off working or whatever, I was in the household. I had an older brother, but my brother was never an older brother. So I had to look out for him and my younger sister in that household. And then when I would go live with my biological father and the extended family on that side, I was the oldest. And I was the oldest of 2 brothers beneath me. So I have always been the big brother / big sister. And I've always walked in that role. When it came to my mom, when I turned 17, I left my mom's house at the age of 16, right? So I've been working since the age of 13. I started working at the age of 13. 13. 17 years old, I was helping my mama pay her bills in my own place, my own house, 17 years old. I bought my first car when I was 16 years old, working 2 jobs. So that gives you an idea when you grow up, and we're going to continue to talk about these things, but when you grow up and you're forced to assume certain roles, another gender role. Like I say, you got a big brother, you got an older brother, but the brother isn't a brother. Who's the protector? Somebody has to be the protector, and for some reason, it was me. And it's so many women that fall into these roles. It's so many women that, again, when the brothers are not brothering, the sister is left to be the brother. The sister is left to be. I always say this in a funny way, but now when you become older, you see how some of those roles cause so much damage. And like I say, I was the big brother to my sister and the big brother to my brother. And I was also, you may as well say, the husband or the boyfriend to my mom, because when my mom needed money, when she needed things for the house, she would come to me. And I was a daughter. I was a sister. I was the middle child. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I didn't ask for this stuff, but this stuff was forced on me. So as a woman, when you're put in a position to where you have to wear masculine energy all the time, how do you turn that off? And it's not that you are acting like a man. You are who you are, and you exude that masculinity because that's all you know. I tell people this all the time. I had to, now that I am, you know, I'm growing, I'm getting older, you know what I'm saying? Life is continuing to go on. I'm now learning, I'm now tapping into, I would say, my more feminine energy. You know, it's a lot of stuff that I'm like, okay, as a woman, I don't want to do. So I'll put this out there. I don't want equal rights as a man. You know what I'm saying? When I say equal rights as a man, like, let's talk about what that means and what that looks like. If I could choose to do what I'm doing, because I am a mental health therapist and I love what I do. If somebody say be a therapist or go out and do construction like these men do in the cold and the heat, no, I don't want those equal rights. I done been there and done that. See, I was in the military. Everything that a man did, I did. So I've done that. So I'm not one of those women that's, oh, I want those rights. You know, I've gotten in the yard, cut the yard, dug grass, poured concrete. I've done the roles of the masculine gender. I don't want that equality like that. Now, if say, for example, I'm working in some type of like a computer field, and I think this is where a lot of people get misconstrued when women say they want equal rights. If I'm working in at an agency and we're both sitting behind a desk doing the same thing, that woman is saying, I want to get paid the same thing that this man getting paid. He shouldn't be getting paid more than me just because he a man. That's where the equality and the equal rights come in. You know what I'm saying? But again, there are certain things that I don't want, or certain responsibilities I don't want as a woman that a man can do, because I done been there and done that, and my days of that is over. Now, if you still a woman and you fight for that, then that's you, you know? And again, I would love for you to come on this show and let's talk about this. But that's not my position. My position is, now that I am a more mature young woman, I have learned, and I'm still learning, you know, the maturity of things. I'm going to put it like that. So I don't want equal things as a man, because when we start saying that, you have to understand that God actually did make us different. The physical anatomy of a woman is completely different from the physical anatomy of a man. So for some, there is some reason that God made us different. And so we are different because we are supposed to share different roles. There are supposed to be different gender roles. But what I'm here to advocate for is the roles that women have had to assume unfairly and unbeknownst. The women that had to be, again, the brothers, the fathers, the male influencer role model, because we didn't have that in the household. I did not grow up with a father in my life. I did not grow up with a father consistently in my life. So like I said, what my brother and my sister didn't have, my mom didn't have, I had to be that because I had the stronger personality. And it just fell on me. I carried a lot of responsibilities, throughout my life. A lot of responsibilities of my family. And for a very long time, my family looked to me. They would always say, can I borrow this? Or can I get this again? They didn't ask it from my older brother. And there was one time that I had to tell my sister, when there was a lot of blame being pointed on me as what I didn't do as a sibling, being a middle child. I had to remind my sister, do you not remember that we had an older brother? What was his responsibility? So anyways, we're going to get away from that. So topic for tonight, real brief. We say we want to talk about the racial disparities, racial and sexist disparities, inequalities. We talked about James Brown. James Brown, we're going to always end with James Brown because it is a man's world. I know a few people may get offended by this, but I have to say this, and this is the truth. I was looking at a documentary one day, and this is when it clicked in my mind that we really are living in a man's world. No matter how many organizations we get, no matter how much we fight for our rights, we live in a man's world. The documentary was about a trans woman, a man that basically did the changes to become a woman. And the trans woman stated this. And this is when I said, this is it. We living in a man's world. The trans woman talked about the different penalties that are given out if you have a male, a trans woman, or anybody from the LGBTQ plus community that is assaulted, right? It's considered to be a hate crime. The severity of a hate crime, you can do extreme long time for a hate crime. So the trans woman made this point. When a woman is in a domestic dispute, what tends to happen? Women tend to get overlooked. If it's a man that comes out and answer the call, the man sometimes relates to the man. Male police officers often take up for other males. They sweep it under the rug. They don't take women serious when they file complaints or when they file protective orders. This happens all the time. In so many cases and so many movies that are that are shown this on Lifetime, meaning this stuff really happens. So, but the trans woman made a point that if a man assaults a trans woman, you automatically get 10 or more years because of the crime. Now, when a woman is assaulted, you'll be lucky if it holds up in court. Been there. Because a woman coming up in there, filing a complaint, exuding strength that you exude, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. Because you have to remember, women were the last people to get rights. And then if you really want to talk about the inequalities, which, like I say, on this platform, I most definitely am advocating for, is you have Caucasian man, Afrocentric male first in society. Then you have, it all depends, you have male, any other man come second. Then you have white Caucasian woman, and then black women, women of color, are the least and last citizen to be heard, to be respected, to be considered. I have plenty of testimonies and experiences that I've had that me working in this field for now going on 11 years have worked on a job, being more qualified, have the education, the knowledge, and the experience. And it could be somebody that's non-Afrocentric, less educated, less knowledgeable, less informed. We can be in a meeting together and I'll say something, my words, go over everybody's head. That person that is not of the same race as me can say something exactly identical or say the identical thing to what I said, and their words will be acknowledged before mine. So this is reality. This is truth. So topic, Black women, women of color. We're talking about the inequalities. And again, I'm advocating for me, my people, I'm advocating for who I am as a person. I will not be ashamed of who I am, because that's another disparity that we have. For some reason, society, non-Afrocentric people are always trying to tell people of color that they can't advocate for their own people. Now, same thing with riots. Non-Afrocentric people can have a riot. Clans get together all the time, right? Non-threatening. The police won't get called or anything. But get a few people of color together and we're a threat. I will not be threatened. I will not be intimidated on this platform. I will speak my truth. I will speak the truth. And the truth is, I'm advocating again for who I am as a person and women that look like me. But this platform is a platform for all women. I would love for all women to come on this platform so we can talk about these inequalities that as a whole women experience. But I'm going to talk about all inequalities and all disparities so it can all be put out there and brought to the forefront. Because it's no longer going to be never mind my voice and our voices will be heard. So the examples that I gave, if a woman of color speaks her mind, these are the inequalities. This is what I'm talking about, the toxic femininity. If a woman of color speaks her mind, she's an angry Black woman. She's very aggressive. She's very threatening, right? But you can have the same woman, non-Afrocentric, not a woman of color, Caucasian, white, however you want to be politically correct, Caucasian, white. She's assertive. She speaks her mind. She stands up for the things that she wants. She's a CEO, business owner. You know what people say about that person? She's a strong woman. Not she's a strong white woman, but she's a strong woman, right? She's a woman that had to work really hard for the things that she got. People are willing to see that. They're willing to say, okay, well, she comes from a background of lawyers and doctors and attorneys. So in that background of family, she has to be strong. See, it's always a reason for other people, other cultures being able to be who they are. But when it comes to people, women, I'm focusing on women of color. If we know how to express the needs and our wants, we're aggressive. We're doing too much. Or we get labeled a bitch. Just for knowing how to effectively communicate. We can't be intelligent, assertive, well-rounded, because very likely society deems that doesn't happen with women of color, right? We know how to speak our mind. We're considered the angry Black woman. Oh, she must be very angry. It must be something going on in her home. It must be something going on in her marriage. I just know how to effectively communicate. And I speak with a passion. And I'm advocating again for all women of color that have to go through this, because I have to go through this on a regular basis. I asked myself, this is another note that I wrote down. Amber alert. Amber alert. Let's talk about that. They don't have any Keisha alerts. They don't have any Bonquisha alerts. But these are the inequalities that I'm talking about. I don't know if anybody ever thought about this, but I look at things like this. When a non-Afrocentric, Caucasian, white person, child gets kidnapped or abused, the whole city is in an uproar, and you come up with nationwide organizations that can now protect supposedly all children. Amber alert. We don't have Brittany alerts. We don't have, like I say, Tanisha alerts. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these are the inequalities. If something happens to a drunk driver, they're gonna come up with an organization, and it's gonna be worldwide or go nationwide. But the same energy is not put into people of color, women of color, right? It's the truth. This we're talking about inequalities, and this is stuff that these are facts. These are facts. That Amber alert didn't come from a Afrocentric young kid. We know where that came from. So this is the platform, and these are the things that I see, and I ask myself, the world and society is trying to say that they're trying to get away from those things, but we're still experiencing those things on a regular basis. Inequalities. We're still talking about inequalities, right? I said we talk there's always, and I don't know if I really want to go into this issue with Steph Curry and his wife, because I see that I'm at like 52 minutes, and I don't know if this thing cuts off after an hour, after 60 minutes. But I want to talk about the Steph Curry and his wife deal, right? Steph Curry, amazing, talented, one of the well-known top tier basketball players, is married to a woman of color. Now, I don't too much watch sports. I watch sports when my husband watches sports, but what I have been seeing so often is that they continue to bash Steph Curry's wife about her cooking. And there was this one thing about Boston had made t-shirts, Aisha Curry cannot cook, labels, signs, and all of that, right? Why is that? Why is that? If she was a Liz, right? Come on, let's talk about it. Let's keep it real. If she was a Liz, or if she was a Jessica, because when he made it to the top, he chose to remain with a sister. He chose to remain with a Afrocentric individual. So now you have people attacking this man's wife, when society, we're supposed to promote empowerment, encouragement, compassion, loving one another. Now, if he had married a Liz, I guarantee you, people that's non-Afrocentric would buy out her food, would promote her food. They literally denigrated Steph Curry's wife about her food when that basketball tournament was in Boston. They denigrated her so much to where when the news people showed up, this stuff made the news. Was it because she's a woman of color? Was it? Have we ever heard of anybody talking about and rest his soul? I don't want to get people up in the uproar, but did we ever hear anybody talking about Kobe Bryant wife? Did attacking her talents? Do we hear about prior to Tiger Woods and his issues? Was there any attacks on his wife? No, as a matter of fact, she was a wife and he got caught cheating, and now she's being paid millions of dollars for just being his ex-wife, and everybody supports that. But had it been an Aisha or a Teresa, oh, she's all right, she's okay, it's all good. Hey, you know what the excuse would have been? He's an athlete, you know. Let him have his fun. Those are the inequalities that I'm talking about. Last point, because I'm gonna, on another episode, I'm gonna bring back up this Aisha and Steph Curry issue because I feel like it's not right. No, two points before I close out. I want to talk about the young lady. What's the young lady with the and I had written her name down, and we was just talking about her today. The female basketball player that people went in an uproar with. And see, I wish my husband was up to tell me the young lady's name. There she go. And Angel Reese. Angel Reese. This is another inequality, disparity. Okay, Angel Reese, very talented and gifted female basketball player, woman of color. You had the other young lady that was non-Afrocentric, threw up the little sign that she did on the basketball court, and she was doing it all season. Nobody had a problem with that. Angel Reese, in return, did it back to her, and boom, denigration, ghetto, aggressive. She's angry. She's all these denigrating, negative names, negative words, when she only did what the non-Afrocentric woman basketball player, female basketball player have been doing all season. And nobody said anything about it until Angel Reese did it in return. That's that toxic femininity. And then when you compare it to the aggression of male basketball players to female basketball players, now people calling her aggressive. She's confrontational. She's combative. When it's 100 times worse when male basketball players play. But that goes back to that toxic femininity when women are supposed to present themselves a certain way. And then if you really want to get to the nitty gritty, a woman of color, that's a fact right there. That's a great example. Angel Reese and that other individual that played basketball, right? She had been making those signs the whole season. And then the disrespect, like I say, I'm not into sports like that, but the disrespect of it all is when Angel Reese's team won the competition, the president's wife wants to bring the losers to the White House. Now, had that been on the other shoe and Angel Reese's team lost, it wouldn't have even been considered. So I don't want to get too caught up in the biases of race. But like I say, I cannot not advocate for women of color and not shed a light on the inequalities, the disparities, the bias, the partial behaviors and punishments that we are subjected to. I cannot not do that. because it's necessary that it's brought to the forefront. I'm not saying it's going to change, but what I am saying that it's necessary that people hear how we feel about that. It's not fair. And I know some people, privileged people, well, life isn't fair. No, it's not. But hey, never mind our voice. How about that? Last, inequality. And this is it. I said, when it comes to a woman, preferably a woman of color. Now, you have so many people talking about what a woman's supposed to present herself like, but it's like sex sells. Because, and especially in society today, multiple topics, right, that we're going to be able to talk about when it comes to that. You want a woman to present herself as a woman, but yet society promotes sex appeal. Talking about, I wrote down a note that said Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett, one of the most beautiful women of color in acting business. I'm not saying she has not been acknowledged for her phenomenal acting roles that she's had. Another woman, Viola Davis, but point in case is what I'm saying. The toxic femininity, the inequalities, and especially the inequalities that women of color have to endure, right? Halle Berry get an award on a Monsters Ball for having sex with a Caucasian male, right? That scene was just blown out of proportion, but it was supported. And that's what I'm saying. You can't be, it's like, okay, you this is what society is saying we're supposed to be. But when put in positions like that, it's like, okay, what sells? Sex sells. And then as a woman of color, now I can't just be a woman of color and be a great actress. I have to be a woman of color and be a great actress on top of selling sex in a movie for me to win a Grammy or win an award. Those are the inequalities that I'm talking about. The racial disparities, the sexist disparities, the inequalities that women endure, but most definitely women of color. We can go on and on and on about the inequalities of certain actresses that get paid millions for their roles, but then you have other actresses that are Afrocentric that has to settle for negotiate for the lowest amount just because of their race. So we're talking about inequalities. I just wanted to do a broadcast tonight because it was on my heart. You know, I want to advocate for us women. Like I say, women monsters, toxic femininity. Never mind our voice. This platform is for women that has a voice, but has not had a voice. So I'm asking you guys, inbox me. And isn't that the irony that I'm saying I'm talking to women and I'm talking to queens, but I'm still saying you guys, that's the misogyny that has been instilled inside of me as a woman. You guys, you all. So I'm asking you women, and even the men that support women. I said I was going to give a shout out to our guys that actually are feminists and they support the feminism movement. Let's give a shout out to the Incredible Hulk guy, Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo. I think that's how you say his name. You got John Legend. Shout out to John Legend. Shout out to Prince Henry. They say Barack Obama made the list, so shout out to Barack Obama. Ryan Gosling, Chris Hemsworth, that's Thor. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, that's Batman. He plays on Batman and Robin as Robin, and that's the Project Power is one of those movies that the movie that he played in with Jamie Foxx. Ashton Kutcher. He also supports the feminism movement. So shout out to him. Antonio Banderas. I did not know that, but shout out to my boy because I love some Antonio Banderas in all of his movies. Matt Damon, Jason Bourne, all of those movies that he do, Jason Bourne. And look, our guy, what's his name? I forget the guy's name, but I know he was on the list. He does the new James Bond movies. He's also a feminist. Forrest Whitaker made the list. Jason Momoa made the list, and Blair Underwood, he made the list. So shout out to our men that will never be able to understand our struggles, but the ones that put in the effort to support the women movement. So, hey, look, time is up. James Brown said it best. This is a man's world, but you will be nothing. A man would be nothing if it wasn't for a woman or a girl. See you all on the next broadcast. Women Monsters, Toxic Femininity, Nevermind My Voice. Queen Wytisha, holla at you. Go and be great and advocate for the women. Share the broadcast. Come to my inbox because I want to do interviews. Let's talk about the struggles of being a woman. Let's talk about the toxic femininity, women monsters. Holla at your queen. Have a blessed night. See you on the next broadcast.